Welcome, everyone, to Ag Tech with Andrew from Farms.com podcast. My guest today is Leon Horning from Horning Manufacturing, and they're in New Holland, Pennsylvania. And they do forage equipment and other grain stuff. So, Leon, thank you for joining me. Can you kind of fill us in about your history, your family?
This business was born on the family farm in 1996. We would say the journey had begun. What started the whole process is, let's go back a little bit in history on kernel processing. In the 80s, it was presented in the European countries. They had processes in the early John Deere forage harvesters. In the early 90s, corporate was deciding, is it worth pursuing this or not? Do we continue to produce this kernel processor? Over that time, the U.S. took a strong turn toward kernel processing. In 1996, the family farm, we were looking at an expansion, and we did. To fulfill that expansion, we needed to buy several head of cattle in. And with that, we brought a set of problems along then. The veterinarian was on site the one day, as well as another sales personnel, and there was a problem with DAs in the herd, or twisted stomachs commonly. The other salesman was listening in. He made the remark, and they said, "Hey, I'm seeing a little bit of this trend on kernel processing. My sons are dairy farmers. They tried it. They love it." So my father thought about this, and at that point, he hired it done. So in 1996, he hired a guy to do all his chopping. In 97, we had a drought, and he bought a lot of feed. So rather than haul it in ourselves, he again hired it in done. In 1998, he developed the desire to do it on his own machine. The problem was there was no correct size unit available for his machine. So he purchased a product, and he had to downsize to fit his machine, which he put in use in it would have been September of 98. While he was building that roller in the neighboring machine shop, another gentleman came and took a look at it and said, "Hey, I'm hearing a lot about this. If this works, I'd like a pair of these too." So he got to thinking a little bit. That winter, he purchased a machine and made a few units, but the quality was mediocre. It was something we would probably scrap at this point. We fast forward to late 99, he made a decision. We're going to go for it. We're going to purchase a machine and form a business. So that's what we did. And that was pretty much the beginning of Horning Manufacturing. And as we know today, it hasn't changed a lot, but as a general rule, our goals are still the same.
You talked a lot about the history, especially with your dad's involvement in this and how he really had that drive to kind of come up with new solutions for problems that really did exist. And you're 3 generations, 4 generations. How long have you guys been on the farm as dairy farmers?
Father would have moved on that dairy farm in the mid 80s. So
Yeah.
my youngest brother is now on taking over the home farm. My father would have been raised a dairy farmer, so technically, and this could be third, maybe fourth generation of dairy farming.
Yeah. So you obviously have a lot of experience. You know what you're looking for. You're not kind of you've dealt with a problem that you realized needed to be fixed.
That is correct. Probably the biggest deal was it did not fit the small farmers. At that point, there was still a large portion of farmers less than, I'm going to say, 200 cows. I don't have the statistics in front of me, but then those days are over. So things have obviously in the last 25 years have drastically changed. So that's what got us started and got us on our feet and got us in the market.
So, 2000-ish is when you kind of started. And
Year
then
2000.
from there, you grew and you actually created a whole new manufacturing plant in 2016. So you've walked through, you've created some success. Tell us about that kind of transition and what drove that change.
And basically, when we started out, I would have obviously I was not involved at that point on a official capacity, you would say, but being on the family farm. At that time, we started out in the farm shop, and it was maybe a 3,200 square foot building, small. It was in a very small scale. In 2005, we added another slightly larger building that was maybe 5,000 square feet. And as time grew on, it became apparent that it's either two ways. Either we get in or we get out. So at that point, there was a couple of his sons involved. In the past, generally, his sons were always in the administrative duties. My father was a great engineer, but he did not love buckwork. So my oldest brother came on board in 2000. He stayed with the company till 2009. And in that period of time, I would have came on board as an official capacity, and I've been here since. The issue was where the business was was not zoned for business. It was accepted as it was a farm accessory business. So in 2014, we purchased some bare land and went through the development process, and we were able to build this shop and occupied in 2016.
Yeah, that's great. So let's talk a little bit about, what you started with, what equipment you were providing for the forage industry, and where you grew from there.
We would have started out as strictly pool type. We're very close to strictly pool type because that's what we had in our community. That rapidly changed in 2002. We added the hard chrome plating would be just a good broad one to get more life out of it. And that ultimately was when we started aggressively getting to the self-propelled market. In that time frame, we developed a kit for the pool type machines. There was many machines that did not have kits. We still do that. That's still a good portion of our business, no longer a large part. We still supply quite a bit of dealerships with new units with their design that they will still order machines without just to be able to put our unit on. In 2000, we developed a tooth profile that's treated us well over the years, and we pretty much stayed with that profile. It might have changed a little bit, but it pretty much stayed the same. And in 2015, just abroad, we brought on the fiber tech design. 2014, we added the 3-row corn head. 2019, we added the 2-row corn head. Not totally in that sequence. In 2008, we would have added our high moisture corn line, which we'll probably cover later. But as far as the pool type goes, it would have been the corn heads, would have been almost as big a deal as the Procigen itself when we started.
You've gone from the pull type, and now you've moved more into kind of so that you've got the self-propelled. Tell us about that transition and why that happened.
As I had said earlier, the herd size is getting smaller. If you look at the U.S. statistics, there is no less cows in the U.S. than there were, but there is a fraction of the herds. So what that's telling you is what used to be 120 cows used to be a very nice size, a big herd in this area, actually. Well, that is pretty much a normal in this area. And if you hit the West Coast, they got their mega herds. So what's happening, they're consolidating, they're getting larger. That takes away the need of the pool type machine. Because if you're milking for 5, 6, 8, 10,000 cows, it's not even practical to go to the pool type market. Second thing that happened is these small dairies, let's say 250 cows, even 150 cows, are buying these second, third hand owner machines and running them. You can buy them fairly reasonable. New pool type in U.S. funds is, I think, around 100,000. The last I heard. You can buy a used self-propelled machine for a little bit more than that. So it's not unusual for a farmer and his neighbor or a couple brothers or somewhere good together buy a self-propelled machine, as they are becoming very practical to the small operator.
Talk about the kind of the self-propelled, all these systems. How do they integrate? How easy is it to if you're not using the Horning equipment to get that into your operations?
As far as the self-propelled market, there we are solely a replacement roll supplier. We do not at this time offer a complete kit, but we offer several specialized types of rollers to fit in their existing processors. Some upgrades available to get better processing scores and processing quality. So our parts will fit directly into existing units.
So let's talk a little bit more about these kits. What's unique about them? How do they work? Are they bolt on? How does that function work? And then a little bit more about the kind of the functionality and the uniqueness of your system.
The pool type processor kit we would deliver in packaged on a skid. And what I tell the farmers, we supply everything except the tools and the labor. So there will come with step-by-step installation instructions. The models vary depending which model you have. Some will have a much easier install than others, just the way they're built. But as a general rule of thumb, there's minimal cutting and then they'll bolt right on. The unique thing about the Horning design is they're very durable and they're simple to run. There's a phrase that always works. Simplicity is the key to most of these farmers. They want things that can put the baling wire on to fix it or the vice grip. Not our first choice, but everything breaks. Our processors come standard with a 2-inch solid shaft through it for minimal shaft breakage issues. I'm not aware we ever broke one under normal conditions. They come with a simple taper block design to open and close the rollers, your Kevlar corded belts. It was designed by farmers for farmers. To this day, I still enjoy farming. I don't personally milk cows at this point, but it's a very critical part of what we do. Understanding that when there's a crop to harvest, it needs to be harvested today, not tomorrow. As far as the kit, it is very easily adjustable from corn to hay. 2 spring-loaded pins, and you pop that pan out and take the belts off, and you go out and cut your hay, or vice versa when you go back to corn. The reason that's critical is your last cuttings in alfalfa and your corn tend to overlap. A farmer never has extra time, so those couple minutes are pretty critical. You don't need to go get registered to take the, I'm going to call it the pan or the deflector out. And as a general rule is, like I said before, we understand the urgency of harvest.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you talked a little bit about your belts. What's unique about the Kevlar belts compared to the other ones out on the market?
You're traditionally, if you go to a hardware store and buy a set of belts, they're polyester. What happens at high speed, they tend to stretch. And that does not work. After all, they will start slipping. The Kevlar is the same type of material that we use in bulletproof vests would be a good example of. It's a very strong, non-stretchable material, and that allows you to put the proper tension on it and hold it there to get the best efficiency.
Great. I mean, obviously that peace of mind is really important because no one wants a breakdown. So when you're talking about your products, what kind of warranty? What kind of peace of mind are farmers getting if they're buying some part of your?
Our product sells with a 1-year full warranty. Our processors have a 5-year warranty on some of their housings. They've built them in a way that we never had to worry about warranty. And it's just confidence telling the farmer that we truly believe this product will do well for him. Our corn heads, the 2-row corn head comes with a full 1-year warranty. Our 3-row corn heads comes with a full 1-year warranty in addition to a 3-year gearbox warranty. So there again, we believe in what we sell.
You talked a little bit about kind of the process between switching between hay and corn. Could you just go a little bit more into the detail of that process? Sorry, I kind of missed all the details on that. How easy is that? What's the process?
It's several minutes at the most. Basically, when you're cutting corn, there's a deflector in right behind the cutter head that deflects the feed up into the rollers, and from there it gets deflected down into the auger trough. When you're cutting hay, you obviously don't want to run it through the processor. So there's 2 spring-loaded pins that hold that deflector in, and you basically pull those 2 pins and pull the pan out the bottom or the deflector and take the belts off. Now that processor will just ride along. There's nothing more needed to be done unless you choose to put the optional protector in to keep the rolls from getting all dirty from the hay. It's a very, very quick process. I'm going to say 5 minutes max.
So it's simple. You can get going. There's no slowdown, no downtime at all. That's amazing. What about the integration with other farm machinery? How well do you, I guess, play in that world?
As far as offering kits for the different brands is what you're asking? We offer them for New Holland, John Deere are the 2 major ones we offer processor kits for. The John Deere will offer from the old 3940 all to the latest 3975, which they quit making in 2012, I think it was. And then the New Hollands, we have a kit from the 782, which is a 1980s machine, actually maybe older than that, up until the current model FP240s. We got kits for everything in between there.
Let's talk a little bit about your corn heads, if that's okay. You've got how many rows? What's the system? How does that integrate compared to traditional or conventional?
Well, traditional corn heads will cut 2 or 3 rows independently at a time. The way those will be is they'll cut them off and have the chains to feed them back into the harvester. Whereas we took the concept of the larger self-propelled machines had their own dependent corn heads. So take an example, a 58-inch swath. If you're cutting 2 30-inch rows, will easily fit in a 58-inch swath. But with this row dependent design, you can cut them at 20 inches or 36 inches if so be desired. The greatest advantage is at the end of the field, if you don't have enough rows cut off and you would like to widen it up a little bit, you can go crossroads, whichever way you want. That is probably the biggest single reason people will buy them is for the convenience of just being able to cut wherever they want. They still work the best when they're on the row, but they work almost as good crossroads just by their design. And that's the 2 or the 3 row. The concept of being row independent is pretty much the same.
So obviously that makes a big difference. when you have that independence. Is that something that you're finding that there's a lot of demand for? Is that the reason why you went down that way?
The demand has been very good on those units, but they will follow the trend of the pool types. If the market declines on the pool type market, that market will also decline. Another feature that has been well liked on the row independent versus I'm going to say the traditional chain heads is these chains wear out. They have less wear parts. And we have some customers who supposedly have cut over 5,000 acres with a 3-row corn head. So they've been put through the paces quite a bit.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So tell us a little about kind of where you're operating. You're in Pennsylvania. Where are you selling your units? And we've got a wide audience. So where if they want to get more information, how do they get about that?
Our biggest market would be the Northeast US and Southern Ontario and in Quebec. If there's a dairy area, most likely we have a dealer in the area. So we have dealers in Ontario and Quebec, as well as the Northeast, basically from Kentucky north, and I'm going to say Wisconsin, Minnesota south. Now we do have people beyond that, but those are our biggest areas. So that one of the easiest ways would be our website would be the easiest way to collect information. That will have our dealers on as well, depending where you're at.
I guess before we say goodbye, is there anything else that we missed that you wanted to share with our audience, Leon?
I think about that covers our pool type market very well.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Well, hey, listen, I appreciate your time today, Leon. And on behalf of Farms.com, I'm Andrew Bodden, and we're looking forward to seeing you again. And please make sure you check out Horning Manufacturing. They've got a lot of great products and great opportunities to improve your farming operations. Thanks, and have a great day.